Howdy, everybody. Welcome to GM Chat with Mike and Jeff. Because, yeah, that's who we are and that's what we do. Basically just talking about, whatever seems to be appropriate.
Yep. Whatever in the realm of running role-playing games, yeah.
Right. And I'm trying to find my... well, I know how to do it. Trying to find my announcements. Because we, do have a couple. There we go.
Okay.
Do remember that Artifacts Worldwide, the whole channel, the whole organization is pledging their support to the Wildland Firefighter Foundation. We've lost over 339,000 acres in Colorado, over 4 million acres in California, who knows how much in Oregon and Washington. And the same firefighters that started out fighting these in July, for the most part, are still the ones fighting it now. And they're tired, they're injured, some of them have lost their lives, leaving their families in a lurch. That's what the Wildland Firefighter Foundation does. It steps in and makes sure that the injured firefighters get taken care of, that the family of the deceased firefighters get taken care of. And these fires are still going on. One of them is uncomfortably close to where our friend Nikki is, who plays on Tuesday nights and is involved in Board Remotely and Player Chat on Sundays and Mondays. Basically, they've evacuated a town that I went to when I was out there to visit her last. And it's only about an hour from her house.
Right.
So it's bad, and anything you can do to help these brave men and women who are out there fighting these fires day in and day out
and their families
would be greatly appreciated. So you can head to our website. It's artifactsworldwide.com, and there's a link right on the front page that will take you to their website, and you can donate from there. Now, the other thing we have to mention is a little bit more fun. Probably, if you're watching something about gaming, you already know about Extra Life, but just in case you don't, Extra Life is a yearly gaming marathon to raise money for the 170 hospitals throughout the U.S. and Canada that are part of the Children's Miracle Network. And we're thrilled to be joining that effort this year. On November 7th, which is a Saturday, everybody who's participating in Extra Life is going to be going online and doing some sort of gaming marathon, whether they're playing board games or role-playing games or video games, doesn't matter. Just games in general, and you have people pledge for the fact that you're doing this sort of duration marathon type thing, and it all goes to the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. We are going to be on the air starting at 8:30 a.m. Eastern U.S. time on Saturday, November 7th, and we're going to be running 4 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons games throughout the day. We'll end at 11-ish on Saturday night, so we're going to be going for, what is that, 14 and a half hours. And we're pretty much going to be doing that straight.
I get to kick it off, right?
Yes. And we're going to have 4 different game masters. Mike is going to start with a game. Do you want to reveal a little bit about it, like the system it's based on?
Yeah, it's well, I'll just say what it is.
Okay.
The announcement here. It's called Humblewood, and essentially what it is it's a Dungeons & Dragons rule-based game, but essentially the world is the way I describe it, Jeff, is sort of like Disney's Robin Hood, where everyone's an animal of a different type, and they all are different classes, just like any other, but they are animals. who can talk and function the same as. Um, so that's the gist of what it's going to be about. And Nikki was very excited when I told her that's what we were going to do. Nikki is a bit of an animal person, so
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's why the second game is going to be run by our friend Buddy, who was our first guest on this show. And I don't know if it's courageous or insane, the fact that for his first time running 5th edition, he wants to run a group of 20th level spellcasters. I still don't know. I'll be able to tell you after the game.
maybe he's just going for broke because it's a one shot. I
Yeah,
don't know.
could be. But man, I know, when I first ran 5th, I was very happy to start off with like 2nd level characters. So,
Yep.
like I said, he's
Yep.
either exceptionally courageous or he's finally gone around the bend. But we'll find out. And then the third game is going to be run by Nikki, and everyone is playing Possum Folk.
You heard it right.
Yep, Possum Folk.
Folk.
And I have been listening to the sounds that possums make, and there is absolutely no way to incorporate that into an impression for a character. It just
And we're grateful.
won't work. Because the sound they make is absolutely bestial. There's nothing close to intelligent communication that can be pulled from that. So I'll come up with something. And then for our last game, we'll be doing a bonus chapter of Lands of Acathan, which will sort of make up for the week we missed adulting and kind of get us back on schedule. So
Now, are we going to have a guest player that night?
I don't know. It depends a lot on where we are in the game by then.
Uh-huh.
It's possible.
Okay.
So
That'd be cool.
we'll see. I have a hope, and if that works out, then yeah, absolutely, I can make a guest work. So
Very cool.
yep. But so that's all our announcements. The topic for tonight's discussion is we're talking about the place of improvisation in role-playing games. Keep in mind, we are not, at this point, talking about card games or board games. We are talking about role-playing games.
Role-playing games and running role-playing games.
And running role-playing games. And where the skill of improvisation kind of meets the rule set, whatever game you happen to be running.
And so I'll let me start with this.
Okay.
I want to make a distinction between improv in an RP setting and comedic improv, because we're not necessarily talking about comedy improv. Now, comedy improv is certainly, if you can do it, a lot of fun in an RP setting, but
Sure.
That's not exactly what we're talking about here. I think what we're talking about is being able to keep the story moving and fluent and adapting to things that your players will throw at you. And, because they will come at you sideways. And being able to do that quick, okay, well, let's do this. If they do this, then I'm going to do this. And sort of being able to do that sort of thing on the fly. That's the kind of improv that we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, the kind that had me scrambling last night. We want to talk to the other people who live around the shack. Fuck.
Well, that's an interesting point, because if the players are pursuing something isn't going to pay them any fruit or dividends, do you just let them waste the time and knock on the doors and blah blah blah, or do you sort of nudge them away from that and kind of get them back on track a little bit?
I think it all depends on how much time you want to waste. If you're trying to pad what you have, that's a gift from the gods. When your players want to wander off and do extra stuff you hadn't planned on, you're like, whoa, this might actually last more than a couple hours now. All right,
Yeah.
But
on the other hand, another thing you can do with that, going into the improv vein, is take the opportunity to, maybe you'll think of an NPC and they may have a side quest, or, I mean, you might be able to come up with all kinds of things to kind of just keep the players busy, or it's a good opportunity if they're struggling, or if they've kind of stalled, to give them like an extra clue or an extra nudge,
yes.
To keep them moving, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Again, that's where good improv skills.
Yeah, you didn't need that last night. You already knew what you were doing next. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those skills that you don't think about when you first come up with the idea of running a game. And, even if you're running pre-written modules, never underestimate a player's ability to make a sharp left turn and head off in a direction that nobody saw coming. Even if you're, running a module that you bought from a company, so everything is pre-written for you, what happens when they ask about something that's not in the module? I mean, you can always just say, I have no idea, that's not in the module. But that kind of breaks immersion. If you're having a good session, that's the last thing you want to do.
And it kind of shortchanges everybody's game experience too. But I also think there's another side to that particular point, is if you are running from a module, then the players need to be like, okay, this is where we're going, this is the mission, this is the adventure, this is what we're doing. And not sort of, well, I want to go see what old lady Maribel is doing down by the well, and I think she's suspicious, I want to go check her out. I don't be that guy. So it's kind of part on your players too. They understand if you're running a module, then you're playing through a specific adventure, and that's what you stick to. But if it's more free form like us, well, we're gonna go knock on some doors of shacks.
Yeah. And again, I knew it wasn't going to provide any additional information, so I simply said, well, there doesn't seem to be anybody home at the shack next door. And the thought that went into that was, the person who lives there is probably at work.
I was thinking that myself, because it was late afternoon, but it wasn't so late that they may not have gotten home yet.
4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, if they work any sort of normal hours, they're not off for another couple hours.
Right.
So, and then the rest of the areas, I mean, that section of town is mostly warehouses. So, yeah. But it really becomes almost incumbent on a game master to be able to think quickly on her or his feet, because, like you said earlier, you want the game to keep going. You want to provide that nice, constant storyline that drifts throughout whatever world you're in. And if and occasionally you may have to stop. I had to stop last night trying to look up secret doors.
Right.
because I remember from earlier editions that certain races had the ability to find secret doors easier than other races, and I didn't remember what the 5th edition rules were for that. And
All
but
right.
you that goes with the territory.
Sure. I mean, and that notwithstanding, but um, keeping the story flowing, that's another reason to have good improv skills. I think it also helps on another level, and that is to flesh out your world.
Oh yeah.
Every time your players interact with an NPC, it's your opportunity to build this NPC out. And he may be nothing more than the blacksmith who works. Kind of take him and build off that and say, okay, well, he knows so and so from the army, or he works for so and so doing wagon wheels and ironwork for that, and that can lead them in other directions and other places, and you can come up with a whole new character, flesh out that little town, and all of a sudden there's another being that lives there, and it just fills the world. You do that enough, all of a sudden your world fills. And believe me, it's a lot more fun doing it that way
Oh yeah.
than sitting down at your desk and trying to write down these NPCs and come up with backstories for them. And they all start sort of running together and being homogenized.
I've started putting my NPCs in 2 categories. There's primary and secondary NPCs. The primary NPCs get the full write-up. The secondary NPCs get a paragraph.
Right.
That basically just says, here's basically what they look like, what they sound like, and a little bit about their personality, and that's pretty much it.
Right.
Because they're not people that are going to be sort of main characters, but you may interact with them. And sometimes you think, well, they might end up as main characters, and then they do end up as main characters, and you're really glad that you wrote up all that stuff, like Aloric.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
but the thing is, would you have come to where you're at with that character had it not been through improv and role play?
Oh no.
You know what I mean? Would you have come up with all of that stuff? And that's my point. That's what I mean about being able to fill your world with memorable, 3-dimensional, lifelike characters.
Yeah.
And that's all comes from improv and the role play, the banter back and forth, and so forth.
And I'm pretty sure that I've already come up with a couple characters that you guys aren't going to forget. Jojo.
Well, there's those.
and Wiggy.
Wiggy, right?
Those are the 2 so far I think I've had the most fun with. Sort of.
Yeah, Wiggy's he's interesting. I like the Jersey sort of, streetwise, punk kind of guy. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was trying to come up with who he was, the person that popped into my head was Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And I immediately went, oh,
yeah, I could definitely see
got him.
that.
There's Wiggy. It just, sometimes it just clicks. But now, here's the question. You and I have both been doing this for so long that, we've developed this ability. We've developed this skill. I would like to think that I've developed a little bit of that comedic improv, too, on occasion. That's always going to be a work in progress. Ask anybody who belongs to Second City if they ever perfected their craft, But what do you do if you aren't good at it? Like, what do you do if you're just starting out and you get hit with a situation like that and you kind of freeze because you're like, oh, crap, I don't know what to do.
Right. Well,
How do you get better at that?
I guess one piece of advice I might have for somebody who's looking to improve their improv, there's a the first rule of improv, whether it's comedy or otherwise, is the yes and rule. And what that means is if somebody asks you something, or if somebody says something to you specifically, or comes at you with some abstract idea, you always agree with them and add to what they said. So it's yes and.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great place to launch that sort of thing. I
Yeah,
think
yeah. That
it's worked
mentality,
wonders.
that mentality comes to the surface whenever somebody asks if a character can do something that is out of the blue for you, and
Mm-hmm.
the patented answer seems to be, you can certainly try.
Yeah, yeah,
And then you sit down and figure out, okay, what what should I have them roll? What
right,
kind of DC am I setting for this? Is this an advantage or disadvantage situation? Like the thing last
right.
night. Araman got hit with a wild magic surge that aged him 8 years. Now, for an elf,
Mm-hmm.
that's like
Yeah,
uh 2 years for a human. So
right.
it's really not much at all. But I had to figure out, is anybody going to notice, apart from the fact that your hair grew? Is anybody really going to notice this? And
Yeah,
your sister was the only one who would possibly notice the changes in you because she's more familiar with you than anybody.
right.
And
Yeah.
but even then I was like, yeah, but for an elf these changes are going to be so very slight, and so I had her roll with disadvantage. But
Yeah.
I also set a relatively low DC because of her familiarity with you.
Right. Now, um, that's another aspect of improv. Uh, Coming up with really quickly that's as fair as you can be. That with things that aren't readily available within the rules themselves.
Right.
Because while the rules are extensive, they don't cover every circumstance or every situation, and you got to think of something on the fly, and it has to be somewhat. And so that's another place where improv skills can really come in. Um, you know, uh, uh, the barbarian wants to uh, skate across a frozen lake, and but the ice looks sketchy. How far can he make it? Can he make it at all? And what roll does he have to make to get across? There's not necessarily rules for that in the game, but you got to figure something out, and it has to be equitable. How thick is the ice? How heavy is Grognard? You know what I mean?
Yep.
How much stuff is he carrying? What kind of boots does he wear? Is it going to impact the ice? And all of these things you got to take into consideration
Where is
relatively
he
quickly.
where is he from? If he's a tundra
Right.
barbarian,
Right.
he's
He
going to
may
have a
have.
better chance of being able to figure that out because chances are
Sure.
he may have encountered this situation before.
Right.
But if he's a desert
So, those are
barbarian,
all the things.
yeah, he's going to be at a terrible disadvantage.
So, that's the sort of things you got to kind of be able to. That's where your improv skills will probably be maximized the most, is coming up with those kind of rulings. Um,
One thing I do want to say, and this is advice from somebody who's been doing it for a while to people who may not have been doing it for as long. Don't feel like you have to know everything. It is completely acceptable, and actually, I would encourage it if you end up in a situation like that and you say, you know what? There isn't really anything in the rules that specifically targets this. So your barbarian is actually from a desert climate, so you're not all that familiar with this. So I've got a DC in mind. You're going to try and navigate across this, but you're going to be at disadvantage. I don't know if that's the best way to handle it, but that's the best way that I can think of at the moment. So that's how we're going to go
Well,
forward with it.
and that's the thing with about that too is that the players at the table go with what the GM rules right then. If you still kind of think that it might not be quite fair after the game, sit down with the GM and say, I'm not quite sure about that rule. Maybe we can work on it in case something like that comes up again. And if you've got a reasonable DM, they're more than happy to make sure everyone's happy with the next rule next time.
And if you don't have a reasonable
But
DM, find another game.
yes. But going back to the original question, how can you get better at it? Like everything else in the world, the best way to get better at it is to do it and do it frequently.
Yep.
One possibility is take an improv class.
Yeah.
You know, they can give you a skill set that'll help you can use. But really, putting it to practice is probably that's how you and I had to learn to do it.
Yeah. Now,
You know,
I will say
so.
I had kind of a leg up because I've been a singer and an actor since I was in elementary school. And if you can get involved in theater, be that, regular straight theater or musical theater or opera even, that's going to help you because one of the things you find out as an actor is that everybody has that moment where they blank and they don't remember their next line. And, there is that adage that the show must go on. So you have to be able to help them. And that's one of the reasons why pretty early on, after like a lot of rehearsals, I would pretty much have the whole show memorized in my head, like everybody else's lines too. So if that happened, I could paraphrase what they were going to say. Like if they were going to ask a question, I could say, you're probably wondering if so-and-so is actually telling the truth or not. I am too.
Right. Sort of giving them a little prompt and jump-starting their...
And this is another thing. You want to make friends in theater.
Yeah.
You provide people those safety lines. And after the show, they come up to you and go, oh, man, thank you. I blanked. And, I remember one time in particular that happened, and I, just kind of, I knew what the next line was, so I just paraphrased it and kept on going. And afterwards, the woman that I was having the scene with said, oh, thank you so much for bailing me out up there. And I was like, not a problem. Not a problem. Everybody has those moments. I'm just happy I was able to help, and we were able to keep going. And pretty much, I don't think most people knew that anything happened.
Yeah, I'm wiser.
Yeah.
There's another idea I have that you can do to improve improv skills. And this kind of goes back to the comedy. The probably the single best thing that I've seen, or commonality I've seen among comedians who are really good at improv, is they're very well read.
Oh yeah.
Having a lot of source material in your head that you can pick from quickly goes a long way. Groucho Marx is the one who comes to mind. His improv skills and his wit was so sharp, so fast, and it was all because he read all the time. He had so much knowledge.
Yep.
And that's where it came from. He just had something right there at all times to say, and it was very clever, typically. And so that's another aspect of it. In our case, or at least in my case, comedy wise, a lot of my stuff is just swiped from other comedians.
Oh, sure.
Having been comedy file since the early 80s, as you well know, you and I both were real big comedian watchers, and got a lot of stuff from them, got a lot of the timing, got a lot of the rhythm, got even some of the jokes or variations of them, and we've had a lot of fun with that, especially during games. And specifically if you're playing a character who has a sense of comedy to him, who's got a sense of humor, that's a parent who has a sharp wit. That's how you play those kind of characters, is you sort of borrow from others, who are funny or something like that. That's how I do it anyway. You kind of learn that rhythm or that timing, and that's how you do it. Probably my single greatest influence for comedy and rhythm and verbal chops was the TV show MASH.
Mm.
Because that was probably the masterclass for comedy and good writing.
Yeah.
And timing and rhythm. So, and ensemble, which in a game session, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. There are 3 writers in particular that all managed to do great work with ensembles, that pretty much anything they put out, I'll watch, because I learned something in addition to enjoying it very much. Kevin Smith, Joss Whedon, Aaron Sorkin. Joss in particular is an absolute genius when it comes to managing a group, but making sure that everybody in the group gets their moment.
Yes.
You really only need to look at the first Avengers movie to see that.
Yeah.
I mean, he had this completely disparate group of characters and had to bring them all together. And while, not everybody got as much as everybody else, everybody got their moment, got a couple moments to shine.
Right.
And that's a great...
Firefly was another good example of Joss.
Yes.
At his best.
Yes, exactly. And
same thing.
So you can... There's a certain skill. One of the things that I teach in college is this sort of ephemeral idea called media literacy, which is the idea that you're able to watch something and you're able to enjoy it, but you're also able to watch it kind of on a little higher critical level and start to notice how the cake that is the TV show or movie is put together, and how the different ingredients all combine to do that.
Right.
And that's where, people say, well, you're not doing yourself any good watching that anime or watching, those sitcoms. Yes, you are.
You absolutely are. Because
you are absorbing certain responses. There was back in the day when City of Heroes was up legit, there was a web series that started called Stan and Lou.
I remember that.
It was a guy who was giving voice to 2 sort of like new character level bad guy minions. Nobodies. Just,
right.
couple hellions hanging out on the street corner in Atlas Park. And
right.
They began to have this journey through the entirety of the game. And these became fantastic characters. I mean, people really, really loved them. Now, unfortunately, the guy who did it just kind of disappeared. He just stopped doing it one day, and nobody I've talked to has heard from him since. But he left a lasting impression on me to the point where I have actually written and voiced additional adventures of Stan and Lou.
Oh, that's great.
And I realized when we started talking tonight and I brought up Wiggy, Wiggy is Stan.
Ah,
Hey, Lou. Hey, you see that guy over there? That's Superman. It's not Superman, Stan. No, I'm telling you, it's Superman. And it's not Superman, Stan. That's Stan.
right.
And I didn't really put it together, but that voice is, my attempt to do justice to Stan, of Stan and Lou. So you never know where you're going to find inspiration.
Right.
You never know what you're suddenly going to remember in your head and be able to go, oh, I forgot all about that, but I'm putting that right here.
Yep. Right, exactly. I mean, you build up that library and of knowledge, and the next thing you know, you find yourself in a situation where, oh, this will be funny if I say this at this moment. And sure enough, it like somebody throwing a nice slow pitch softball at you, you just crush it because it's there.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, okay, I can see what's happening. This is going to be funny. But it comes from that knowledge, that library that you put in your head of collecting all of these things from everywhere, and training yourself to do it and to be able to do it.
Yeah. So if you're still in school, if you're in high school, college, get involved in the theater department. Get involved in a show.
Yeah.
Even if you're just working tech, so that you're in that environment and you can sort of watch the show become real. Watch everybody slowly begin to coalesce into this final product that they put on stage and people applaud. If you can get involved in the shows, even better. Because that will, even if it doesn't necessarily help with improv, it definitely helps with the idea of assuming a character and then interacting with other people as that character. That was one of the things I found out when I first hit college was I had to take a speech class. And, I'd been doing theater for 20 years at that point. Well, probably like 17 years, but and I'd even done some semi-professional stuff. But when I was told I had to get up and give a speech that I wrote as me, I panicked. Because I wasn't used to talking as me. I was used to talking as somebody else.
Sure.
So
right.
That's definitely something. If you are not in school, if you're already, out working, I'm sure there's a community theater near you.
Mm-hmm.
And community theaters are always looking for people who are enthusiastic and will dedicate themselves to a production.
Yeah. It may not be Purple Rose, but
no. Our friend Buddy, his entire family is involved in the community theater in his town and has been for decades.
Right.
And I guarantee that is part of how he is able to do that sort of improvisation. Yeah. The one thing I will say, though, is, and this is something that I've had to grapple with, I don't know if you have, I'm sure other GMs have, there are going to come times when you have something planned and the players decide that they want to go off in a different direction, that they want to follow another idea, not an idea that you had, not an idea that you wrote in. Don't get mad. Don't get upset. Remember, this is supposed to be fun for them too, and this is interactive storytelling. You may have the main plot in mind, but they may end up creating what becomes a very entertaining side quest that you hadn't thought of at all, but they decided to run off in a different direction, and if you roll with it, it can be something
Or
really cool.
or the thing to keep in mind is there are more than one way to get to your end game.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be down the railroad track. If they want to go off and do this, you can find a way to bend it back around eventually to where they end up where you wanted them to begin with. And in the meantime, you've got a whole new store full of adventure ideas along the way. So yeah, run with it. You never know. And the thing is that I would say probably one of the most important things about GMing is allowing your players to have agency.
Yeah.
Letting them do what they want to do. And making sure that their characters matter, consequences, repercussions, good or bad, and keep that in mind, and just kind of know they go to this town, how much is their notoriety following them, or arriving ahead of them, and how are so ahead of time, and that's a lot of it too, is knowing ahead of time about how people will react towards them. And that helps a lot with the improv as well, because you got to jump on them.
Yeah. The other thing to remember is sort of like, it's a little bit metagaming thinking, but you have to be practical about this. If your players throw you a curveball, remember that your gaming session is only so long. So you only have to sort of like scramble and roll with it to the end of that gaming session, and then you've got until your next session to go ahead and prep that curveball so you're ready for them to continue on in that direction. Right. So so
let me ask you this: have we done that to you yet in this campaign? And I mean like severely, like where did we sort of take it completely off the rails and go in a direction that you had to completely reroute yet? We're still pretty low levels, so maybe not quite, but
not really. There have been little variations that I've, had to figure out, like, we've talked about, like, you arriving at the crossroads south of Costed's Wave. And that was just, I didn't really think about it ahead of time. I was looking at it on the map and going, yep, that's the crossroads, and that's as far as I thought about it. But when you actually got there, I was like, oh, well, this is a place where people would stop. So.
Yeah, and then that brings us back to why I think improv is very, very precious skill set for this game that really adds a lot to it, is because what happened there was completely improv by everyone.
Sure.
And the moment that came out of it, the RP moment that came out of it, was priceless.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of moments that you're looking for. And that would have never happened had you planned it out. Not that way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It just happened. And that is why improv, I think, is so important to this game.
And that's why it's wonderful when you're able to put together a group of people you trust, because you can simply go with something like that knowing that they're not out to mess with you or mess with the storyline just for the sake of messing with it. They're there to help tell the story. And
right. Yeah, they're not there to troll.
Right, and they have influence in how the story goes. I mean, that one night of interactions, if and when you all visit the Towers of Azinor again, there's a brand new NPC there who's going to want to interact with Zoreth.
Yeah.
If Aaron finds out she's there, he's going to want to say hi.
Sure.
And, it's very possible the next time she talks to her mentor that he's going to mention Aaron because she instructed Aaron to make a friend of him.
Right.
So that one night of just kind of riffing added 2 new permanent characters to the world and added new interactions not only between the PCs and the NPCs, but between NPCs.
And that's what I'm talking about. That, bringing it back full circle, it adds dimension and character, and it grows your world.
Yeah.
By 2, but that's 2 more. And it just adds to it, and it starts filling up that way. And that's all came from an improv session.
Yeah.
And you pull it out of your butt.
And one of the things that kind of amused me last night was Nikki grappling for a particular method of communication, and she was like, the thing that Appleby had. Appleby was somebody you just randomly decided to go talk to, and became, somebody. I mean, that name came to her like that. And he was never anybody I planned on being a major player in anything.
Well, everything we did while we were in Armagh, and the NPCs that we interacted with and had become full-blown characters in that city, are now permanent fixtures. They're there. Their main, Jojo, and the horse guy. I can't think of his name now.
Oh, yeah.
And
the guy who runs the Theranox Talon.
Yeah. And his little assistant,
his waitress.
I mean, all of these characters add up. Megan. They all add up, and they all help build that city and are part of it. And our characters have, their lives have become part of the fabric of that through those characters. So they have a place. They know when they go back to Armagh, it's going to be familiar. They're going to see familiar faces, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be like going back home because we have those connections.
Yep.
And it's all because, of free form improv.
I have found it interesting that in character, some of you have already said, we could just stay in Thunder's Edge. We like this place.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that.
A little insight. Airman hates Thunder's Edge.
Yeah, well, it's all right. He's allowed to.
He doesn't like it there at all.
It is a radically different environment.
Doesn't like it at all.
Thunder's Edge has a much more strict caste system than anywhere else you've been.
And Airman doesn't do strict anything. He isn't law-abiding. He isn't, upstanding citizen. He lives his life the way he prefers to live his life. And his goals are typically to pursue that. He much prefers Armagh, or even better, Costed's Wave.
Sure.
But
Yeah, Costed's Wave is probably the most relaxed place that you've been in terms of Law and Order.
but
But there's more relaxed.
well, well, it's 10 till.
Uh-oh.
We're gonna do this.
Sure. Why not?
All right, Jeffrey, are you ready for your exam?
Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, the questionnaire uh, used by Bernard Pivot and made famous by James Lipton on Inside the Actor Studio.
A program we both
Uh,
love.
very much. Um,
Yeah, to tie it into improv, my favorite episode of that was Robin Williams.
yeah, it was good.
When Lipton said, how do you come up with, in what way what the hell goes on inside your head? And Robin just laughed and then stood up and started to interact with the crowd and got, props from them and everything and just riffed for like 15 minutes and then sat back down and said, that's as close to an explanation as I can give you.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Just brilliant.
Yeah. So this questionnaire, love this questionnaire. It's really insightful.
Yeah.
We'll start with question number 1 if you are ready.
Sure.
What is your favorite word?
Possibility. Because I like to think that anything is possible, depending on how much work you want to put into it. And, when somebody says, well, it's not possible, I'm like, sure it is. May not be probable, but it's possible.
Mm-hmm. Pretty good one. What is your least favorite word?
Hypocrisy. There's nothing that gets under my skin more than saying one thing and doing the opposite. And
Or expecting someone to do something some way while you're not doing it yourself.
exactly.
And calling them out for doing it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons why the older I've gotten, the more political I've gotten, because I just can't stand hypocrisy, and I see it in politics more than pretty much anywhere else in the world.
All right. So, what turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
I don't quite know how to, what the right word is. I guess you could say openness. I hate people that are closed-minded, people who have just decided that something is a certain way and you're not changing their mind. I love when people, instead of going, they go, I know a little bit about that, but I don't know a lot about that. Tell me more. And they actually engage with whatever topic with an open mind. As a teacher, one of the things that I have found the most satisfying is when you have students who are willing to consider what you say, and you see that particular student have that epiphanous moment of, oh, I just figured out how all this ties together and why it's important. That there is no better feeling in the world than knowing you had anything to do with that.
I'll bet. What turns you off?
Meanness. People who are deliberately mean, deliberately hurtful for no other reason than it makes them feel powerful. I've been on the unpleasant end of that kind of behavior from people with more power than I have, and I've just had to kind of sit and take it, and it's one of the most horrible experiences ever.
And my personal favorite, what is your favorite curse word?
There are so many good ones, but the only one that has the full versatility is, of course, fuck. You can use that in so many different ways. But my favorite use of that word, in several of the groups of friends and gaming groups that I'm in, if you say Famitka, people know exactly what that means. It was a phrase that an old friend of mine, who is sadly no longer with us, who went by the moniker Big Daddy Pie, Mike Pyrola, who one time we were gaming and something surprising happened and he just went, well, fuck me in the goat ass. And that has stuck with me ever since. And so, that's kept for special occasions. But that's really my favorite way to use it.
What sound or noise do you love?
Thunder. Rain and thunder. I will never sleep so well as when there's a thunderstorm going on. Unless, of course, the bolt hits within a mile of my house. Then I will probably wake up.
Shakes you out of bed.
Yep. Yeah. Probably like, Frankenstein, just.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I love the sound of rain and thunder. I have since I was a kid.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Crying. And I don't mean just, tearing up. I mean like absolute sobbing, because that sound usually means great pain,
anguish.
And I always have this instinct of wanting to try and help, and I've learned, as many other people have throughout history, that sometimes there's just nothing you can do. And it's just heartbreaking, because you want to help, someone you care about is feeling like that, and there's nothing you can do.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I thought about this. Professional singer. I've been a singer pretty much since I was able to talk. My mom was musical and would play the piano and sing, and so I learned to play the piano and sing. Had my first lead role in a school like holiday pageant in 4th grade, and I've been in choir pretty much my entire life. I've been in a couple bands, and I love it. I absolutely adore singing, and whenever I get the chance to, it will lift my spirits for days. And I think if I had been braver, I could have actually made a career out of it. Now, I don't know. I think maybe I could become the next Christopher Cross.
Christopher Cross.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's put a date on that, right?
Yeah.
What profession would you not like to do?
Lawyer. With the way I feel about hypocrisy and the way I feel about meanness, having to defend somebody that I knew was guilty and try to convince somebody they weren't, that sounds like hell.
And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
This is the one I've given a lot of thought. I would pretty much like to hear him say, I know you didn't believe, but you still did good. You still tried to make the world a better place, and that's all I wanted.
that brings us to 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Wow. That couldn't have worked out better.
Yeah, we nailed it this time.
Woohoo! Yay us! All it took was a week off.
Imagine that.
Yep. All right. That's another show done. Hope you enjoyed it. We will be back to start our next week of programming on Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern U.S. time with Board Remotely. Then 7 p.m. U.S. time on Monday for Player Chat. 7 p.m. U.S. time Tuesday for the next chapter of Lands of Acathan. And then Mike and I will be back in a week, 8 p.m. Eastern U.S. time for more here on GM Chat.
And I think that following weekend is that when the
It's 2 weeks from this weekend. Because there's this weekend, and then there's the weekend right before Halloween, and then there's Extra Life. So
good. Means I got a little extra time to put something together.
Yep. All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Remember, stay safe, stay sane. Please, please, please wear your mask. Even if you don't believe it's necessary, just err on the side of caution and wear the mask. It helps more than anything else that you can do. And be sure to vote. The election's coming up too. Very, very important that you make your voice heard. If you need more information, go to vote.org, and you can find out everything you need to know about how to vote and how to make a plan, including the fact that ride-sharing companies are giving like half-off discounts on Election Day to help people get to the polls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Uber and Lyft are both doing it.
Nice.
So, yeah, remember, vote.org, all the info you need. So, until next week, take care, everybody.
See ya.